Hey guys, how y'all doing? It's your girl Ruth, back for part three. Back for part three of the apocalypse. Okay. Some more info I found. I found this a while back. I think I mentioned on one of my videos, but just to hear it again, what this lady said, a couple other people maybe after her said that they could remember before coming here, and I don't know, see if it's got to do with anything that we've been taught. It all has to do with the apocalypse too. But yeah, um, I want to say, I was saying something about the Sandman movie. I was asking a question that says, do they give us dreams so we can wake up and stay on the path? And we were talking about the path. The Umbrella Academy on Netflix, both of these, and they were talking about if you go off the path, they would try to take you out or put you back, do something to make you go back on the path. And I was thinking, okay, what if the nightmares is also a way for them to try to put you on the path? Giving you nightmares because you're going off the path. Um, just something I just thought about. And then I looked at Vanish, and that was about a Christian movie about everyone disappears. But it was so strange because when a lot of people disappeared, they left their children, and these were little kids. So it's like, why wouldn't they take the little kids with them? You know, um, that part I didn't understand on that, and a whole lot of other movies and Left Behind. So it's like the mom left and a son, but she has a child that's maybe 6 or 7, and they didn't take that child. Hey, Carmen, how you doing? And yeah, and it kind of didn't make any sense because if you would think that a God would appreciate the little children, why would you leave them here to go through all of the stuff that they say that in Revelation was supposed to happen? So yeah, that and what else I was looking at? Um, Something else I want to mention before I start the video. I'll talk about Halloween too. I'll talk about that in a minute. Uh, oh, and I gotta find that Sleeping Beauty movie. I've mentioned that before too. Okay, we'll go ahead and listen to this one I found. She telling about.
It says, I was shocked when my spirit got.
She remembers life before birth. Okay, so the lady's kind of.
In Australia. She has a Bachelor of Animation and she is a content creator, singer, songwriter, and artist. I will have her contact links, her YouTube, TikTok, and email linked in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Here's RK. Hello, RK. I'm so excited to have you on today. Like, seriously, of all the interviews that I've done.
Wait a minute. My grandson said he remembered too that he can't exactly he remember he went through like a portal like something. He said he was going fast through the portal, and he remember going inside of his mom's body. Like trying to cut me off again, dang. And he was going, and he ended up in his mom's body. He said he don't remember too much after that, but he do remember that going through the portal and getting into her body. Um, somebody else told me. Oh yeah, that was a or the boy I met years ago. He was about 8, and he took his. I was at a church getting some food, and they were sitting in front of me, and she was talking to a lady, and she was telling her about the little boy. Her grandson said that he remembered his whole life. And so I asked him, he was sitting in front of me, and he said he remember his whole life before he went into his new mom, the family and now. He said he took this family he was with now to the old family's house. And of course they were like puzzled first. Oh yeah, different things, but this one is on someone talking about what went on before they came here. And I was just trying to see that does it compare to what we learned from out the Bible. So yeah, and he said that he took his family to another the old family's house, and they didn't believe him at first till he told them everything about him before he passed. I think he passed maybe in his 20s, and because they say they was puzzled to how he died, and he was explaining to him how he died. He was 8 years old. I was sitting there listening to the little boy. Okay, let's listen to see what she gonna say.
And I'm so excited to talk to you because we have something in common. We both have pre-birth memories. So Thank you for being willing to do this.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for having me. Thank you for your patience in contacting me. I'm excited as well, and I must say what you do is beautiful, and I truly, truly enjoy your channel and what you do for people.
Yes, and I can say the same to you. So I'm just going to say right now that for all the viewers, you should check out her TikTok, and you have a YouTube as well?
Yeah.
Okay, because she puts a lot of really uplifting, positive content out there, and I really love watching her TikTok videos specifically. So would you like to start by just sharing what you remember of your pre-birth memory?
Oh, yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
So I'll start off with a little bit about my background. So I'm from Kazakhstan. I was born in Kazakhstan and raised in Kazakhstan and moved to Australia. And currently in Australia. So I was raised by my grandparents until the age of 4 or 5. And I actually considered them to be my biological parents, and I had my uncle with me. And since my parents, my biological actual parents, were teenagers, they moved to the city. So they left me with my grandparents, and they moved to the city to work and to find their career and passion. So I was about 4 when my mom, she came to visit us, and she introduced herself to me as my mother. And I remember her being upset because I wouldn't call her mother, I would call her sister. And she was like, no, I am your mother. You have to call me mother. And she had my brother in her hands, who was 1 or 2 years old. So, we went to another room, and she was breastfeeding him, my brother. I was just quietly sitting watching, and I suddenly recalled everything. My pre-birth memories, why am I here, and all those abilities that I've forgotten about, they all came back. So I shared my pre-birth memory. I was like, oh yes, you are my mother. I remember everything, what happened, and I am so grateful that you welcomed me. I'll share how it happened. So I was in the darkness, in a black tunnel. I don't think I had a body or anything. I didn't feel like I had a body. I didn't feel anything around me, any space, any time. I just saw this white dot in the end of the tunnel. It was just a very tiny bright light. And it was coming closer to me, or I'm moving closer to it. I couldn't tell. But I felt like I was put in trance, as if I was falling asleep. But as I was moving, I suddenly stopped, and I asked, wait, where am I going? But I had no one around me. But then suddenly, this gentle presence showed up. I couldn't see her, but I could feel what she was saying, and it was going through my head. And she said, "You're going to planet Earth." And I said, "All right, yes, planet Earth." And at that moment, I don't know why, but I felt like as if I should know about it, as if it seemed familiar. It seemed like I should know about Earth. And I said, "All right, yes, I'm going to Earth." And she kept saying, "Yep, it's about time. Keep moving." And I got distracted. Because the light was coming closer and closer. And what I saw in that light was 3 ladies. And so it's labor. So labor scene. My mom, giving birth to me. I had no idea what was happening, but I clearly saw them, and I remember them being noisy and yelling and screaming. I didn't know what was happening, so I was excited, and I asked, like, what are they saying? Like, why are they yelling? And I heard this word, which was kiss, and I specifically picked it up, and I said, "Wait, what kiss means?" And this gentle presence, she was like, "Well, kiss in that language means a girl. You're going to be born as a girl." And she started explaining the difference between boys, girls. And I was fascinated. I was like, wow, I'm a girl. Like, I can bring... She told me how I would become a mother if I bring a child. And I was like, wow, I can bring another life. And that seemed lovely to me. I kept saying, wow, that's beautiful, lovely. I am so excited. I can't wait to be there. And she kept telling me, like, let's go. Like, you have to go now. You have to move. And I was still hesitating. Although I was excited, but I was nervous. I didn't know what I was getting into. So I was like, okay, all right, I'll move. And the voice, the presence started fading slowly as I was getting sucked into that bright light. The voice started fading, but she kept saying, "Dear child, please don't forget me. Don't forget us. You are always, always protected. You're always guided. You can do it. We will watch over you. We love you, and you will be loved and welcomed. Trust us." And I said, okay. I was like, okay, I will remember you. Thank you. And my soul was like a child. I don't know. It's just an excited child. So I got sucked into the light, and I was in the body of the baby. I remember I hated it. I didn't like it. I was like, oh, it's stiff. I couldn't move it. I couldn't control it. And I remember I felt uneasy, as if I shouldn't be here. But once this lady, she put me on my mother's chest. The bliss and enlightenment you felt when you met the source and you were on the other side. That's what I felt when they put me on my mother's chest. But I couldn't understand what she was saying because I didn't know the language. But energetically, what she, I think her intention was, it was something like, "I love you, I will protect you." And I felt so happy, so grateful. And I said, oh, wow, they were right. I am loved. Like, I am welcome. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy and excited. Well, I told my mom, and she didn't say anything, but she didn't deny it, because I think her entire family, like women's line, they all are healers, and they have like prophetic dreams, and they are all they all can relate to
Oh,
that.
thank you. I thought it was too when I
So she
found it.
didn't
I was
say
like,
anything
what?
about it. She was like, okay, yeah, it was probably a dream, but
It
all
answered
right,
a lot of questions for me.
So that was my memory. And I was about 4 or 5. And after that memory, I returned my abilities back, like getting out of my body, or as if you could call it astral traveling. And as a kid, I thought like everyone could do it. Everyone is, capable of just getting out of their body like I used to. I used to just rush to my bed and think, oh, I can't wait to fly. I can't wait to fly.
I remember that
and
as
I
a
remember
child.
getting frustrated because I was living with my grandparents, and I could talk to animals. We had a lot of animals, and I lived in a small village, so we had a lot of animals, and I could talk to them, and I could talk to plants, but I couldn't talk to people like telepathically. And I would get frustrated and come over to my grandparents and tell them like, everyone can understand me when I send them a message, but you're not getting it. And they would say, no, you have to speak up, Arky. You can't just think about it and expect me to understand. But I would say, no, you don't understand. Plants understand me. Like animals understand me. And it might, I now understand them. Like if my child came up to me and said that, I would probably be also surprised. And I started getting those abilities back, and I had this prophetic dream in which I saw my grandparents' death, and I saw my biological dad's death, and they would die at, I think, close to each other. In terms of timing, it was close to each other. And then I had no idea or no concept of death, but I remember just being excited, and I came up to my mom when she visited us, and I said, I had a dream, and I'm so excited to share. I sat her down and I said, you're going to die. And as a kid, I think I didn't know how to deliver those things. I said, well, my grandparents are going to die soon, and my father's going to die soon too. You're going to stay with us for some time with me and my brother, and then you're going to die too. And then it will be left me and my brother. And my mom was like sitting there just wide eyes open. She's like, all right, keep going. And but she didn't say anything. She just said, oh, you just had awful dream. But what happened was, soon after that dream, it actually happened that way. My dad suddenly passed away in an accident. My grandparents passed away. And I was left with my uncle. So my teenage mom, she was living in the city with my little brother, and barely, she could barely take care of him. And she was working 3 jobs, 4 jobs, and trying to make ends. So I was left with my uncle, which was actually I think a traumatic time of my life, because I was from age 5 till 7, 2 years I lived with him and his wife, and we lived in physical abuse. After my grandparents' death, my uncle just couldn't stop drinking, and he couldn't stop, giving us a hard time. He was giving us basically a hard time and abusing us. But even though as a kid I didn't know what was happening, but I still liked him, and I still had so much love for him. I thought all I could see was how much sadness and how much hard time he was having, and I couldn't do anything about it. So I wasn't paying full attention to it. I wasn't scared of him. I don't think I was scared of him. I should have been, but I wasn't. Also because I had my guides which I didn't know they were called guides or angels. We weren't religious. Our family wasn't religious or never practiced it, and I've never heard about God or angels or anything like that. Or we didn't have books or TV, so I have no idea about anything. And
hope you got friends that's good
I
friends.
remember I had this plant, and from this plant, these little people came.
Well, your kids.
And they would visit me, and they would tell me where to hide, where my uncle was drinking, or I sensed something was gonna happen, or he would try to kill me, or something like that. And it happened many times. But my guides, the little people, they would tell me, go hide in the barn. Or they would just send me a message, do this, rush here, go to this person. And so I wasn't scared. I was always guided, like, you have to hide here, you have to go this way. And animals would hide me. They would tell me, come here. So I felt grateful. I feel grateful for this now. I didn't realize it was something extraordinary. I thought this was a normal thing, to be honest. So yeah, and one day I don't know how, but I escaped my uncle. I escaped the house. I was facing death. And I was about to be killed. And I remember just talking to these little people, and I said, please let me leave. Like, please save me. I don't want to die. I want to be an adult. I want to become an adult so badly. I want to experience everything. I want to, live a life. I want to live a long life. I remember saying, I want to live a long life. And somehow, something happened to my uncle, and he started apologizing and crying. And I remember I escaped. I ran to my neighbor's house. I picked up their phone and I borrowed it. I had my mom's number. We had this big brick phone. So I had her number, and I called her, and I'm glad asked, for you. Please save me.
Yeah, friends can be good.
I'm scared. Please save me. I don't want to die. I think I will die if you leave me here. And she didn't know about what was happening, so she was shocked, and she took me with her to the city to live with her. So I lived with my mom up till age of 17. And meanwhile, she got married to my stepdad. She had another child, and I was introduced to to a religion, Islam religion. Yeah. My stepdad tried to teach me about Islam and Quran, but I didn't practice, and I had no interest in it. So but I had like some concept of, I started getting some concept of heaven and hell, which was confusing to me. I was like, why would people go to hell? Like, why would you do that? And like, why would they go to hell if they were created by the creator? So I would question my stepdad, and I was very skeptic. Like, I couldn't understand the point he was trying to tell me. So I was about 17, finished my high school, and I remember my mom just had, at the time, her spiritual awakening, and she was glowing. Like, she was glowing. She started her business. She was happy, and she was sharing these knowledges with me. She was telling me about how to manifest, like how thoughts work, how you can get anything you want if you set an intention, and about the universal love and everything. But I couldn't understand at the time. I was like, yeah, sure. And so my mom, I think I remember, she also had dreams like me. She had prophetic dreams, and she saw her death in her dream. And a week before she passed away, she sat me, my brother down, and she told us, well, I'm leaving Earth. It's like my time has come up. It's like, my time's finished. Okay, so you guys should be brave. And she already gave us like step-by-step plan, like what you should do. Like, you go to the bank, you go to this place, you sign these papers, and everything was detailed. So we were like, wait, what are you talking about? So, and we didn't take the fact. We didn't believe her. We were like, okay, whatever. And but I think I felt that it was truth deep inside, because I knew that I also had a dream of her death as a child. So I kind of knew it's gonna happen. But when it actually did happen, it put me into this state where I just lost the goal of my life, because my personality at the time as a child was built around my mother. So I always had my goals attached to her, like, oh, if I'll become an adult and I'll support her. I'll become an adult and I'll let my mom travel the world, and I'll become an adult so I can pay my mom's bills and do this, and everything just crashed, just collapsed. So we moved to Australia with my stepdad and my two siblings. We spent all our money on getting a visa and moving to another country. So 5 years, I think, in Australia, challenge after another challenge. And it was depression. I had major social anxiety. I couldn't talk to people. I would just start shaking and stuttering, and had so much to learn, like new environment, language. I started working in hospitality in order to learn the language and get to know people and make some money. And I faced bullying and mistreatment and racial discrimination in this country I didn't expect. And we had poverty and financial difficulties. I was trying to make some money to support my brother, and
I had breast cancer
just to
too.
eat.
I'm sorry to hear that.
We were struggling financially. I couldn't.
Mine
we had
wasn't so
days,
aggressive.
months we would go
thank
without
the creator
food.
for that.
So it was a cycle of this study and work. And then hospitality work was exhausting. And I was trying to pay off my study debt with that. And I was stuck in this survival mode and this closed loop: work, study, bullying, mistreatment. And this loop was closed.
Oh,
and I felt like I wasn't moving at all.
I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, she made sure y'all was going to be okay.
And I had multiple
I had breast cancer too, but mine wasn't aggressive.
I tried to end everything. I honestly didn't believe in God at the time. I thought this is like something that doesn't exist, because if he existed, well, this was my mindset as at the time. Like, if he existed, he wouldn't give me these hardships. He wouldn't take my mother, and I would just blame everything. And while I was in that survival mode, I would blame everything. But
we do question him.
And so one day,
stuff don't make no sense.
I would finish my work at the restaurant late, so I would take this night walks, and one day I was just sitting under the moon and crying, and I don't know why, but I felt this urge to ask the moon for help.
Thank you.
I said, well,
I found it myself.
There's a God,
if I knew about the herbs,
well, I need you
like
now.
I know now, I would
don't know
cure
where
myself.
It's going. I don't know where my life's going. I don't see the point of my life.
Cut me. And
because my attempts of suicide always ended with failure.
I found it myself. It was really small. And I remember when I was pregnant and I was breastfeeding, and the left breast, my baby wasn't getting a lot of, my second to the last baby wasn't getting a lot of milk. So the doctor told me to use the pump, and I didn't do it. I see that was my fault. He told me use the pump to unclog it, and that way that the milk will come out. But I didn't do it. And time went on, and then I found a knot myself. And then I went to the doctor, and it was so small. My breast is so small, so I had to make sure I found another place, because the first place couldn't find it because my breast was so small. But I knew it was there, so I found another place, and they lay you down, and they found it, and so they did the biopsy and stuff. But like I said, I wish I would have known about the herbs. And then my girlfriend's grandmother, and I wish I had a grandma like her, about her grandmother. She set them all down about 3, 4 years old, the boys and the girls. And she explained to them how you get disease and how you get breast cancer, and how the guys get, right? And how the men get prostate. And I mentioned this in my other videos too. And she said, she told them, if your man you're talking to has been with a lot of women, and also the woman, and they have an oral sex, that the slime saliva, of the woman is still inside, and the sperm from a man is still inside of you, if you don't do a cleansing and get all of that out of you. So if you taking it to another woman, and that other woman's body stuff will go in. If he sucks on your breast, it'll go inside your breast, and in your vagina you can get cervical cancer too, because it's from another person. It's not yours, so it's like foreign to your body. So it'll cause problems. And she explained it to them like 3, 4 years old. And she said that's how you catch disease, because if you mess around. Damn. Yeah, some of my family died of cancer too. Throat cancer, different other things. My grandmother, but she worked in a cafe. But yeah, so she explained that to them, to be careful. If your man is not loyal, don't let him suck your breast, or don't let him do oral on you. And she followed those things since she was grown. And I thought that was pretty great of the grandma to be that open, because a lot of people don't tell their kids about sex at a young age. They want to make them like, like want to say that, want to keep them innocent. I guess that's what everybody think. But we all know that stuff could happen. You got molesters in your family, molesters in your neighbors. You know what I'm saying? You got kids at school mess with them the wrong way. So it's good to tell them about that kind of stuff at an early age, especially if somebody touch you wrong, something like that. That would be good to tell them stuff like that. But yeah, so a lot of that came from growing up to a lot of abuse in my family. So all of that kind of added up. But she really set them down and told them about what's really going on, and it stuck with them. They were very smart, very smart. And her sister, she started prostituting on the street, and she was doing drugs. And even as a prostitute on the street, she was still cautious of the guys that mess with her. Okay, that's good. That's real good. Yeah, I used to go get at the library. I used to go get a book with nothing but diseases. They don't have. It's hard to find now in the libraries. With my older kids, I used to do that a lot and show them different, talk about different stuff like that. And then I got to working so much, and a whole lot of my other kids didn't get a lot of that, you know. So I hated that. I didn't get to tell the other ones that, and different other things I will find. But yeah, that's good. You telling your kids. That's good, because you never know. You never know.
I said something like, well, if he saved me so many times, there must be a reason. So show me that reason, please, because I couldn't understand. Like, what was going on and why my life was going the way it's going. So I promised, if you exist and if you want to help me, I am willing to change and I am willing to put effort and change. Soon after that, I remember I just came from work, went to sleep, and I woke up, but I woke up in my mother's arms, in her lap. Like I was sitting on her lap, but she was holding me like a baby, closer to her chest, like holding me like this. And I always stunned because I never hugged my mother while she was alive. And that was like the reason for my depression, because I didn't show her affection, never said I love you or anything like that. So she was holding me, hugging me, and I started looking around. We were in our old apartment. Everything was so beautiful. But the colors of my apartment was different. Everything was shining, glowing, and colorful. Good.
Especially the boys, the girls too. Especially the boys. The boys get tricked more than girls.
It did.
They make it okay.
And I started touching my mother, like tapping on her shoulder and poking her because I couldn't understand if it was real. And she felt realistic. She was alive. She felt warm. So I said, "Wow, you are real." And then I said something like, "Oh, that can't be true. Like this can't be true. This can't be happening. You're dead. You have passed away." Well, I was like, "Well, you left me." And she was actually, she didn't say anything, but she had this caring, peaceful look to her. She was
keep that open.
She was
with them
giggling,
boys.
like she was laughing at my reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was as if she already expected me to react this way. And I remember I looked into her eyes just to check to see if she's real. And the entire universe was in her eyes. It was so beautiful. I was like, wow, that's so fascinating. And what I noticed about her was she looked youthful. She looked so happy. She never looked that youthful. I mean, I remember her when she was 35, and but she looked 18, and she was glowing. She was glowing. She had this white halo around her, white aura. She was wearing white only. She basically looked like an angel, if that's what people describe as angels. She looked like an angel, and I said, wow, you're so beautiful. And I kept hugging her because I didn't want this dream to end. And I said, oh, so this must be a dream, right? If this is a dream, I don't want it to end. And I started hugging her tightly, and I said, please don't go. And I said something like, my life was so hard without you. I missed you so much. And I finally said, I love you. So I kept hugging and didn't want it to end. But she was patting me, like tapping on my shoulder, and as if she was saying, it's okay, it's okay. And while she was doing that, I looked up. For some reason, I looked up and I saw this bright light we were sitting under. It was beautiful.
Me too.
It was.
I seen my mom and them too, and my sister and them.
Bliss.
Only one I haven't seen is my brother.
And it was filling me
they
in
youthful.
And her as well.
It was doing
and
good.
What I felt
I do the ancestor stuff.
A healing.
And I was telling her before she passed,
and slowly,
that, about the ancestor stuff, and I'll make sure if anything happens, I'm gonna make sure she's okay. My part over here on this side.
Every
explaining to her about all of that
fading
before
away,
she passed.
and I started thinking and considering my life experience on Earth as a dream. I was like, oh, what if the Earth was a dream? What if I'm dead right now? Like, this is heaven. Well, I don't mind if this is a heaven. I like it. And I remember thinking, oh, yeah, it must be it. This is it, because this is so realistic, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is actually afterlife. But yeah, slowly I felt like I was healing. I don't know how, but I didn't want it to end. I tried to hold on to my mom as hard as it's possible, and as tight as it's possible. But I woke up. I woke up in my bed, and I said, "Dang!" So this was a dream. But I felt this warmth in my left hand, the hand I was holding my mom with, like touching her with, and it's as if someone was still holding. And I started crying. I was like in my bed crying, like someone's holding me. So this must, this was real. Like it wasn't a dream. And trust me, I never believed in God or angels or guides. So it was hard for me to acknowledge that this happened, but it did, and I felt something different about me after that. The survival mode I was living in was gone. Depression I had was gone. I had no social anxiety.
Wow.
Had no eating disorder. I forgot everything. I basically forgot everything about my old self. The mindset I had, I forgot about it, as if I just survived to Earth, and I started relearning about everything. I detached from everything I've known so far. For 23 years I learned on Earth. I detached for some reason, and I had to relearn about everything with fresh new mindset. And I felt so light. My body was light, and I felt glowing, and I felt like I was shining and glowing. And what I noticed was how people would react to me. People started loving me. People would, they would look at me differently. They would see the glow, and I started noticing how once I stepped in the room, people would just stare at me. Like everyone in the room would notice it. And I also started noticing something's wrong, like something's different in a good way. So what I felt was, I couldn't at the time explain, because for 23 years I felt that I had blindfolds on me, and when they were taken off, I didn't know what I was seeing. I didn't know what I was experiencing. So I had those abilities back, which was telepathy, out-of-body experiences. I had enhanced intuition. I would recall my past lives, had prophetic dreams. I would just each night get out of my body, and fly. And I think the first time I got out of my body, I just stood. My astral body just got out. I looked at my physical body, just laying on my bed, and I said, "Wow, I am finally out." I felt the relief, and I was laughing. I said, "I'm finally out of that body, yay!" And I went flying. The first thing I did was, I want to fly now. And I went flying all around the Earth. I went to the moon. I went back to Earth. I was having fun. And then I went to clouds. I started jumping on clouds. I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I'm jumping from one cloud to another, hugging every cloud, tried to hug. And I remember I had this aha moment where I said, how could I forget that this is me? How could I forget? And I looked back at Earth, and I still had this feeling that I should go back. I must go back, and it will happen. Like, there is something unfinished about Earth, but I couldn't explain. I couldn't tell what it was. But I had this deep love and deep compassion to Earth, and I remember saying, wow, you are so beautiful. you're doing so well.
Okay.
And I said to Earth, can you imagine me talking to Earth?
Okay.
So I said, are you doing so well? Well, I will come back to help. I will come back, but let me have fun now. And I went flying. I still had connection to Earth, so I felt the urge to go back and observe people for some unknown reason. And
right.
I visited different countries. And I would just observe people. Some people were upset, some people were angry, some people were joyful, some people were going through challenges, and some people were just busy with life, like busy going to work. And I remember just being fascinated and thinking, wow, this is so exciting. This is what life is about. This is a journey. This is an experience. And I felt the urge to experience human life again. And I said, I can't wait to go back to my body. And now with the knowledge of who I am, now I know who I am, I can go back. So I was excited to start the journey with this knowledge I had, and excitement and these abilities I had. I could get out of my body anytime. And after that, I think it was like for 5 nights straight, I had out-of-body experiences for 5 nights straight. And each night,
right,
people who are actually alive on Earth, and one of them is my uncle, they would come to my room, and I would get out of my body to meet them, and they would tell me, let's go for a walk. And I said, okay. And we would go for a walk into this forest. It was a beautiful forest. For 5 nights straight, they would take me to that forest each night. And every soul I met, they apologized. And it was people whom towards I had grudges, I guess. I was angry at them, and I was mistreated or bullied by them. So I thought they were bad people. They were this and this. However, when their souls showed up, each one of them, they apologized. But I didn't feel the grudge. I had so much love towards them, and they had so much love towards me. And I felt like we were a family. Like we were this soul family. I didn't know what soul family was back then. Trust me, I didn't have any idea. But this is the feeling I had. I had like, oh, I've known them for so long, and they love me so much. And why would I have grudge towards them? I remember saying, why would I be angry at you? I love you. But one thing they all said, and I remembered, and they asked me to remember, please don't forget, was, you know that it wasn't our true self who hurt you.
Mm.
Our true nature would never hurt you. My uncle said, I would never hurt you, my love. I would never do that. I wasn't myself. Please remember that.
So
and
what
I
makes us
I understood what it was about.
here?
I couldn't explain, but I had so much love, and I said, of course I know. This is all, we're acting, yes. And I would wake up each morning and would write down what they said, and I started researching about what they said, like, this isn't our true nature. And I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense. So what's our true nature? And everything started just flowing to me. The telepathic messages, I don't know from who, from my higher self, from my guides, from my mom, source, I don't know. But whenever I asked the question, like, well, what's the point of my life? They would just send me a message. This. And I remember I asked something like, well, why did I come to Earth at all? Like, why would I choose this life? And I had this dream in which I actually I think I didn't know it was a dream. I got out of my body. I see myself sleeping. So I was like, oh, okay, I am out again. And my astral body was sitting on my bed, and I see this creature, a little fairy flying. She was so pretty. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen any colors on earth like she had. She had those colors, and she was sparkly, beautiful, and she had this little contract in her hand, and it said contract, and it had more words to it, like lettering. I couldn't read it. She tried to come up close to me, and she was just throwing it around, and I was like, I can't read it. Like, I see it's a contract, but I can't read the rest. And I remember saying, oh my God, this is a fairy. I'm seeing a fairy. I was like, well, I want to wake up and tell my partner about it. So I don't know how I fell back asleep, but I did. And the next morning I woke up and I couldn't get the message. I was like, well, I asked, why am I here? They sent me a contract. So I was like, okay. And then I was meditating, and I asked, so what was it about? Like, what's the contract about? And they sent another telepathic message, this soul contract. And I was like, oh, soul contract. I still couldn't get it. I was like, well, I don't know what it means. Well, I have to do some more research. So I started researching and finding books. Actually, books started finding me. So I would just have this urge to go to the library, and I would know which aisle to go, which book to pick up for some reason, and it would tell me about it. So I had this for some time. Yeah, I had this ability, and it faded away eventually. I had some shadow work to do. Of course, it was a fascinating experience where I had my super consciousness. I was in this super conscious state, and I had all of those supernatural abilities, and I tried to explain to people like what was happening, but couldn't get any answers from them. So I remember having no ego, had absolutely no ego, and just pure love. As if you remove every emotion from you, just leave love. Like, that's it. Wow. That was it. I felt just love towards everybody. And I remember going to work, and I had these connections with people, and I could hear their thoughts, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. And some of my coworkers who have been mistreating me or had something to do with me, I could hear their thoughts and their feelings. And what they were saying was, I'm insecure, I am upset, I am depressed, I am unhappy, I am jealous of you. And I remember just hearing them, and then I said, wow. And it started making sense. Like, oh, this is what it was about. Like, everyone is struggling. And I felt so much love for them. And I noticed how they started changing towards me when I started showing love towards them. And so everything started changing. And I quit my job, and I finally decided to get out of that loop, which I was in. And since I'm no longer in survival state,
that's the best way.
Was very excited about life. I remember your interview with Lee, and then you said, well, what was the purpose of this life? And I asked the same question, actually. I did ask my guides the same question, and in the beginning, and I remember I was in the library, and I said, well, what's the point of this earth? Like, why were you here? Okay, we could sign that contract. Well, what's the point of it anyways? And they said love. Like, the message they sent was love, and I felt through my body, and I said, wow. And I was like, wow, this is so simple. Everything's so simple in life. It makes, it's easy. How could we forget it? And I went to my partner, my brother, to explain, like, oh, the point of life is love. Like, we came to learn about love, and we came to go, to learn about non-duality and go back to non-duality. So, and then they didn't get me. So I asked for more clarity. Yeah, clarity. Excuse me. And I was in the library, and the voice sent me a name, Albert. And I remember I just said out loud in the library, like, Albert? I questioned the name Albert, and my phone, the Google speaker on my phone, I don't know what it's called, Google Assistant on my phone, picked it up, and it took me to Wikipedia page of Albert Einstein's biography. And I remember thinking, wow, maybe I should read about Albert Einstein. And I went to the lady at the reception. I asked her, do you have any books about Albert Einstein? Like anything you recommend, I'll read anything. And she gave me the first book. She was like, read this one, I like it. And then I was like, okay. And it was Cosmic View by Albert Einstein. And I have so much love for this person. This man is just, I don't know, he's just a beautiful soul. How he saw the world, how he sees the beauty in everything, and how he wouldn't deny any religion. And I'm the same. I don't deny or I don't approve. I don't label myself within any religion, but I think there's truth in each. And he said something like, well, if you ask what's my religion, it's cosmic religion. I remember just laughing at it and thinking, wow, this is great. Like I'm gonna use that. I'll also be part of this cosmic religion then. And well, I still didn't get the answer. I was like, okay, I've read this book, and I was reading more books on Albert Einstein, but I felt like I wasn't going towards the answer. I felt like I was still far away. And then I came across this letter of Albert Einstein to his daughter, in which he explains, and it was his last letter, in which he explains about the most powerful force in the entire universe. And he says it is love. And he explains to his daughter that love is the most powerful force in the universe. Love. Every creation starts with love. Love conquers all, transcends everything. And for love we live, for love we die, and love is within everyone. I remember just crying while reading it because I needed this clear answer, and they would just give this letter. So yeah, I was crying during your interview as well, because how much I think everyone was getting the same answer, and everyone was having the same feeling. So that made me so happy. Well, I had another experience where I got to meet my guides. I shared it with Lee, but I'll share with you. I was in Russia actually. I astral projected, but I got out of my body, but it wasn't intentional. I didn't think about getting out. I usually put some intention before doing it. I got out, so I had no purpose. I was just there hanging around the house and just going through the walls and touching my doors and trying to see what I can do, what I cannot. And I remember that I had this.
But I was just writing down
these questions in my notepad. I wrote down like about 20 questions.
I was just writing down what force. You know, she was saying about the uncle said it, and all of them said that was not them. They would never, their true self would never hurt anyone. So what force is making you hate, and abuse? Because it's a force here that's doing that. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I was writing down. People say devil, people say that, but if you research devil, Satan, Lucifer, that's not it. They made up by man for money purposes, to put fear in people. So what is the other force? And I found and I'm the extraterrestrials I'm still researching on that. But I found a Star Trek. I'm gonna try to find it. A Star Trek thing was talking about a certain extraterrestrials that were jealous of us, of how they were made, and they wasn't made. Um, well, they were made to love, but they were mad. Supposedly being the fallen angels, they were mad because they wasn't made like us. Because whoever created everything made everybody for a different purpose, and they don't like the purpose they were made for. They jealous of us. Those supposed to be the ones they say that's running the industry and the government, and so they don't like us. Yeah, they don't like us being happy, being in love. That's why they break up marriages, relationships. They want the women to be abused because they say there's a lot of men and this certain extraterrestrials, and they make the men gay, stuff like that. Yeah, the cloning. I got another theory on that one too. That's from that could be from them too. Cloning of it's like, how can I say? I think the cloning is from another set who's making the robots. Um, I was explaining that the last one I had. I think that's to my opinion. That's why they made to the internet, because they listen to our voices and how we act and how we talk. And then it was a movie I seen. I wish I could find it. And the cloning had to do with this mother. So they say, but they always try to make us mothers look bad. But she was, I think they got that from Mother Earth. She was recloning her son and then going to bed with him and then killing that one off. How was it? Some kind of weird stuff on that movie. What's the name of it? Yeah, somebody told me to watch that. Now, if you look at, they say, because like I said, they always trying to make the woman look bad. So you have to really research it. But they saying that Mother Gaia created, like I call her Father Universe. So she created a son, and then she started having babies with the son. And then some kind of way he got upset. She got upset or made her mad or something. And she made him a constellation, and he sits in the sky. That's where they get the sky god or something like that from, you know. But these Greeks and all these other people got so many stories, stuff like that. But yeah, so these particular archons, they the ones that they say cause us to do different things. Let me try to find that right quick. I was going to talk about I don't know if have you ever seen Soul on Netflix with Jamie Foxx? I was going to talk about that one next. Let me see if I can find that one with Star Trek. Yeah, that tells about the reincarnation of us, bringing us back. But let me see. Let me find the Star Trek one. The Archons on Star Trek.
Showing results for the Archons on Star Trek.
Okay, I found it. I think this is the one right here. How they were trying to trick her. Wait a minute. They're the Archons. Wait a minute. Let me put it up right quick.
At Simply Safe, your safety is the only thing that matters. We designed smarter ways to detect motion for emergency.
Here. I'd rather be here in spirit than not at all. A captain doesn't abandon ship.
Every hour you stay here makes it that much more difficult to leave.
Why are you pushing me? I've made up my mind. I'm staying here.
The cortical stimulator is working. I'm getting a weak pulse.
She's coming back.
I'll use cortisone along with the stimulator.
Oh, I used to watch Star Trek faithfully.
What do you mean?
I saw Tuvok and Chakotay and the doctor.
Yeah, this is a scene where
No, it was different as though.
This is a scene where the woman on Star Trek, they was on this planet and she got hurt and she was dying. And her soul left and went on this spaceship. And that's where she met the Archons. And the Archons, one of them was looking like her dad. And I'm gonna let you hear the rest of it, then I'll see and see what they say if it ain't going too far.
As though I were looking up at them.
An hallucination like the others.
I didn't feel like the others. I didn't see them at all. A captain doesn't abandon ship.
Every hour you stay here makes it that much more difficult to leave.
Why are you pushing me? I've made up my mind. I'm staying here.
She
The
wants
cortical
to
stimulator is
go
working.
back to her body.
I'm getting a weak pulse.
She's
And that's
coming back.
them trying to
I'll
get
use
her back
cortisone along
to
with the
life.
stimulator.
What was that? What happened?
What do you mean?
I saw Tuvok and Chakotay and the doctor.
Here?
No, it was different as though I were looking up at them.
An hallucination like the others.
I didn't feel like the others. I didn't see myself. I was looking up at them.
That's she realized
That's
she
the
being
real
tricked.
me, isn't it? Lying on the ground on that planet, dying. And this is the hallucination. This isn't real.
More denial. You're only making it harder on yourself.
You're trying very hard to convince me to come with you. Why is that? If what you're saying is true, why not let me come to the decision on my own?
I'm trying to spare you unnecessary pain.
My father would never act like this. He always believed I had to learn my own lessons, make my own mistakes. He never tried to shield me from life. Why would he try to shield me from death? You're not my father. I could be imagining you, but I don't think so. You have such a specific agenda. You're determined that I go with you somewhere. Who are you?
I'm trying to help you. Stop fighting me.
Are you an alien being of some kind? Is that it?
Her eyes are open,
Vital signs are responding. Blood pressure 60/30.
but the entity is still inhabiting her cerebral cortex, impeding your treatment. Catherine, hang on. We're bringing you back. Just fight a little longer.
Direct synaptic stimulation might drive out the alien presence.
I was right. I heard Tuvok and Chakotay and the doctor. You're an alien. You created all these hallucinations, haven't you?
This is what my species does. At the moment just before death, one of us comes to help you understand what's happening, to make the crossing over an occasion of joy.
And what is that?
Our matrix, where your consciousness will live. I was being truthful when I said it was a place of wonder. It can be whatever you want it to be.
Then why didn't you tell me this from the beginning? Why pretend to be my father?
Usually people are comforted to see their loved ones. It makes the crossing over a much less fearful occasion. I've done this many times, but I've never encountered someone so resistant.
Something's happening. The alien presence is getting stronger again.
Fight it, Catherine. Fight it just a little longer.
I'll have to try a Thoron pulse.
My people are telling me to fight. They're
Right.
trying to save me.
They're trying out of desperation. It's hopeless.
You're the one who sounds desperate. I don't get the feeling you're trying to make me comfortable. You're only interested in my agreeing to come with you.
Because it's inevitable.
And you don't strike me as any kind of good Samaritan. You're more like a vulture, preying on people at the moment of their death when they're most vulnerable.
I've waited for you. I've been patient.
But your patience is wearing thin. What's the real reason you want me in that matrix? Somehow I don't think it has anything to do with everlasting joy.
You must go with me.
If you could force me to go, you'd have done it already. You need me to agree, don't you? I have to go voluntarily.
Wouldn't that be better than standing here in this endless debate?
Let me tell you this. We can stand here for all eternity, and I will never choose to go with you.
He wanted her to go
You're
into
in a
this
dangerous
life.
profession, Captain, who face death every day. There'll be another time, and I'll be waiting. Eventually, you'll come into my matrix. And you will nourish me for a long, long time.
And
Go back to hell, coward.
yeah, he went into like a portal light back in there. She wouldn't go with him. And that kind of goes with the Soul movie. I found a little clip. The Soul, it was a little cartoon for kids, but it was deep. It was for kids, but it was grown-ups. It was about grown-ups. Jamie Foxx was working as a teacher, but he didn't a music teacher, but he really wanted to play in the band. So he was getting older, and his dream wasn't coming true. So a young guy, one of his students, remembered him when he finished, and he told a famous person about how good his teacher could play. So he set up the meeting for him to for Jamie to audition to the late, the famous person. So he did, and she liked him and all of that. So when he was leaving out, he was so happy. He said, but he said some words. He said, what did he say? Something like, before I die. No. What is the word he said? And I think that's what messed him up, because he said, fuck, how can I say the words? If it's the last thing I do, I'm gonna be in this band, I'm gonna get in this band, something like that. And when he said that, and he was running, he was so happy, he was running back, he fell in a work hold at the construction, or whatever them guys is that work on the street. He fell in that hole and he died. And when he died, this the part that they got the little clip. When he got back to so-called heaven, but that's not a heaven. That's something what the archons fashion so they can get you to come back. So let me see. They can use you.
What is this place?
What's your name, honey?
I'm Joe. I teach middle school band.
Yeah.
Cut it, go for it. Today started out as the best day of my life.
Back here tonight, first show's at 7.
Yes! Woohoo! You know what that's gonna say? Joe Gardner. I did it. I got the gig.
Must have been sudden for you.
What up? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Help! I'm not done! Oh my goodness! Huh? Is this heaven?
No, it's the great before. This is where new souls get their personalities, quirks, and interests before they go to Earth.
Meet 22.
I don't want to go to Earth.
Stop fighting this.
I don't want to. Hey, look, I already know everything about Earth, and I don't want anything to do with it.
You're missing out on the joys of life, like pizza. I can't smell.
Yeah, you have to train.
We can't taste either.
All that stuff is in your body.
No smell, no taste.
Or touch. See?
Okay, I get it. Wow, it's my life.
Is all this living really worth dying for? You're still alive?
Can you help me get back?
No way!
There I am. What are we waiting for?
Wait, not me!
This week,
What is it?
151,000 souls going to the great beyond every day. And I count every single one of them. The count's off.
Huh.
Yeah. So when he got to wherever they was gonna refurbish them, what they did was they took the grown-ups and they put them in like a I don't know if you ever been to the zoo wherever you stay at, and it's in the zoo. You can go in and watch this big television screen. It's like in the movies, and they have a big television screen, and they convince the grown-ups that whatever their talent is, they can transfer it to a child, and they make them feel, like sorry for the child, whatever. And so they agree to it, and then the child gets your personality, your talent, whatever, and they give them some more stuff, and then it's like refurbishing you, and they take your memory from what you did the last time, and then they bring you back to another family, and you be reborn again, repeating the same thing. That's where they get that reincarnation stuff from. So that's what that movie. You need to find that movie. It's not on Netflix anymore, but maybe YouTube got it. I'm not sure, but they just showed a little clip. But yeah, so that wasn't saying. You see, they didn't say nothing about heaven. So this was designed by some extraterrestrials or somebody. Yeah. And that's what they was tricking them at. So they would have certain kids for certain stuff. And the little girl that he was talking, little boy, whoever it was, he was talking to, she didn't want to go back. Every time she said she came to Earth, she had bad parents. She didn't feel comfortable here. So she would do something to die, whatever, and end up back there. And then they had, and this was on Sandman too. They had like a part where if you get into deep, deep, deep depression, and you would turn to like a demon. Yeah, you have to watch that. That's real good. Yeah, it's a lot of trickery here, and it's just a lot, because I know, like I mentioned before, when I was younger, and I used to go outside and look up to the sky, because I don't know if last time I was here, or it wasn't like this. It wasn't so prejudiced. It wasn't so mean. It wasn't so hateful. It wasn't so much killing. I couldn't understand, and the molesting, and I couldn't understand. I was so confused. And I would always go outside by myself in my grandma's yard in Louisiana, and I would look up, and I would, where am I? I was there was 5 or 6 or whatever, and I'll be like, where am I? Because this is crazy, and being in country like that, they were scared of the whites, and they didn't want you to go downtown, and it was it was still prejudice when I was, it was in the 60s, and 67, see, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, yeah, 68, something like that. And I was would always go talk to them, and to ease my mind, they would make the sky like a pinkish orange for me, and when they did that, it would calm me down, and I would be real relaxed, and then I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't get along with my brothers and sisters and my cousins, because different, another story. But I did have one friend. A matter of fact, I'm gonna look for him when I go home, and he would come and play with me and stuff. And my sister then was always, doing little things, messing with us, and just different little mean things. But anyway, as time went on, you said, oh, okay, so you probably know a little bit what I'm talking about, right? And as time went on, I started seeing when I was young. I mean, yeah, around that age. I don't know if to escape what was going on. Like she said, she would be flying out of her body, and Peter Pan was really good back then. That's why I was surprised to find that there was a real Pan, you know. But Peter Pan was made from Pan, and yeah, and so at night we would go, and he would come and get us, and we would be flying all around. He would take us different places, and just happy. I don't know if I did that because of the abuse that was going on or what, but I remember flying a lot. I remember And I remember like flying. I remember flying and stuff, and I guess it was my astral body, you know. And I remember that a lot when I was younger. And then after that, let's see, when I moved to Houston, um, I don't think I had them dreams anymore. Yeah, and then I think next I started seeing myself on a spaceship and talking to, I guess, my family or whoever it was. And then they made me come back. And I was upset, but I came back and they showed me that my mama needed me, right? And I said, okay, well, that's my purpose of coming here to help my mom, because she went through so much when she was young. And then my sister then was giving her all kind of problems and stuff like that. And then I started, I was a baby of 10, so I started being, fussing at them and all that kind of stuff. They hated me. And I mean, they loved me, but they was doing their own thing. We had different dads, so different bloodlines was different, different things come out. And then after that, some years later, I started getting into another depressive state. And it was just, it was I was isolated a lot. And my sister, she was always turning people against me because she would be mad that she said I used to snitch all the time, but she was always doing something. I didn't want to be in trouble. And so she would turn my cousin them against me and different people in the neighborhood. I had maybe one or two people to play with. And I had one girlfriend, but when she started being with other kids, so she wanted to fight me. So I stopped being her friend. So I started playing with by myself. So came here to Houston, still was bullied too, like I was at home. And I had some friends, but she would always be doing some stuff again to turn people against me. And I had one, me and her sister was like that too. So me and her were pretty good friends. But she would be doing little stuff too. And then after a while, I would, when I get into a state of a lot of, abuse or whatever happening, they would take me back on the ship again. And it was years later. And then it's like they would boost me up, And then I was mad that time because I didn't want to come back. And they made me come back. And then, yeah, and then I stayed, I took it out of my memory for a long time. And then I guess about maybe 3-4 years ago, I was back on the spaceship, but this time I was a little girl. And I was in like this, it was a bed, but it had like a glass top, like you would see, on the movies and stuff. It had a glass top, and I was asleep. And I guess it was my dad or whatever. And he raised it up and he gently touched me and told me to get up. And when I got up, I ended up waking up here again. I had kids then or whatever, but I wasn't upset that time. It's like I knew, I had more purpose to do some stuff. But I noticed, each time I need something, either, they'll give me, when I be complaining, because I complain, they'll give me a boost, you know what I'm saying? So different little stuff. So I can kind of relate to what she's saying, different things like that. Sometimes I can see different visions of different stuff. But that Bible, I read the Bible so much, so you have to be careful, because whatever you visualize up here, you can, like a lot of people say when they died or something, they went to heaven or they went to hell. But it's like the church. Yeah, it's like the church and the Bible, you will start seeing that. So I did a video on each country, what they felt about heaven and earth. So the Indian culture was very interesting. They said that it's different entities that when you pass away, that they will try to trap you in their realm. And they got like some, like, like they tell the Allah tell the people there that if they blow up themselves or whatever, sacrifice to your God, that they would die and go, oh, that was good. That was smart of her. But if the Bible still have a lot of codes and a lot of things that'll help you here too, but what I'm gonna say, I forgot my train of thought. I forgot what I was saying. Damn, I forgot what I was saying. Shoot, I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, yeah, the Bible. When I started reading the Bible, because when I would go, my mom had me go to different. Oh yeah, the Indians was saying that these different forces would try to trap you there, and Allah would promise them that if they, kill or do whatever, sacrifice whatever they do to blow up themselves, that they will be promised to have virgins and live good and all that kind of stuff. So it's mostly traps. And then I was listening to this Moor, I guess he was a Moor. This black man is a Moor. I think it was a Moor. And he was saying about, and he was saying about that how they were saying about how the white man came to be. And he was saying that some black people, when they used to go into the universe, that they would get swayed by these entities, and some of them be lustful spirits. And in order for them to get them back to earth, they had to make a clone of a white clone, and they had to put that person that they got, figured out how to get that person out of that realm and put that person inside that white body. But they couldn't come back as a black person for, I don't know, I can't remember why he said they couldn't, but they used them clones to put that soul back in their body. And that way he could come on back to earth after they figured out how to get him out of that realm. So I thought that was pretty good. It's a lot of black Moors and stuff be telling different stuff. It's so many different stories about the color of the skin, how the color of the skin is. And another one told about that some in Africa, these black, when everybody was the world and everything, America and Africa, all that was together, wasn't no part of the sea. And some went on exhibitions, or they went to look for something else in another part, like going towards the cold part. And I think the freeze or the ice age or something like that came, and they was hiding in caves. And by them hiding in caves, there wasn't no sunlight, that their skin color turned white, and they said it deforms your nose and your lips. And that's why the white people got little lips and little noses, because of not having no sunlight, and their skin color turned white. And I would find it interesting that when the Vikings came down, they came down from them hills. And I'm assuming if his story is true, because there's so many times that the world started over. I said yesterday, I thought it was 3 times, but they say 52 times. And then the man says a ram, not really an earth. So that means, to me, that means that each one of these entities was in charge and changing people's DNA. Now that's another story too. So when the Vikings came down from the snow area, and that's where you get your Russians and all that kind of stuff, they were angry because, it's like they went into wherever they went into the mountains. And I think maybe they thought that, the black people didn't love them and didn't come look for them. And they let them stay there. And then they, when they came back, they were angry and they started fighting. That's what they said. It was acting like barbarians and all that kind of stuff, and was fighting them and stuff because, they felt like they looked different, you know what I'm saying? And then time passed. So they really didn't know each other anymore. And so they just started fighting, and the anger was there. So that's why I think the Vikings came from. It was our people that got caught up in the caves, and they just let them stay there. And then in the Bible, it has another way that they say they turn white as well was leprosy. And they say that God in the Bible, many of them in there, but this particular one, he punished them. The first time I think was with Moses, when Moses and he was married to an Ethiopian lady. She was darker skinned than him, so I'm assuming he was brighter skinned than her. And his brother Aaron, the priest, his wife, I forgot her name. I used to know her name. I can't think of her name now. But she was making fun of Moses's wife for being an Ethiopian, being that dark skin. So the God heard her, and he punished her and gave her leprosy. So leprosy first was like, so you see them sores, and then it turns, and you see kids where they got people that now they coming out where they got half white and half dark skin. So that's called leprosy. And so when you get leprosy, that's considered a plague. So they would take them and they would put them in the caves. And then if that God would tell the priest to go and do certain rituals or whatever and cure them, and they would get their skin color back, and they would be whole and clean, and then they could come back into, around everybody else. But he did that for her. But then as I read on, there was a king. He was so disrespectful and mean that this God say he wanted to do his own thing, that he cursed this whole generation white. And they have different stories of how people turn white. There's so many different stories of how they turn white, And then they say Cain. I was going to talk about Cain and Lilith. Now they say Cain. Okay, now you got Lilith. They say it was a black woman, and I'm assuming, I think if she was a black woman, either Adam was white. I'm not sure. But if they were both black, okay, this time around. But they say Adam, one lady said Adam and Eve's story was for white people. So Adam had to be white. She remember it was a lady had a radio show. She was a white lady, and she was telling black. She said that time that God came, he was creating whites, and that's not y'all's story. So if Lilith was black people's story, I don't know if you know the story of Lilith. She was made from a god. She wasn't made from no real but Adam. So she was just as powerful. She was a god just as powerful as Adam was. But that God wanted her to submit, and she didn't want to submit. So he shunned her from, I don't know if they was in the Garden of Eden or wherever they was. And she ended up hooking up with other fallen angels or whatever. But if she was a black woman, and the lady said that there was a white people being born, so that makes Adam a white man, I'm assuming. And then if Cain this is my theory, okay? The I gene, I ain't never heard. I mean, the Eve gene, yeah, the Eve gene supposedly came from the rib, because they didn't want to. They say they didn't want to take a chance of letting the woman be birthed from a god again, or created from a god's DNA. So they decided to, take the part of the man and make the female. So the white woman is more submissive than a black woman. And a lot of that's true, and so that's why this is the theory. This is what they're saying. So, and I read it all, and I heard speakers and stuff like that. I don't know if it's true or not. Everybody got their theories, because none of us was there. Some people, like, you got the occult, different ones that know what really happened. But so when she supposedly Cain was supposed to be her son. So when they shunned her from where she was, and she got with other archangels or fallen angels or whatever, she left Cain. So I was thinking, I said, well, okay, so she left Cain, then here come Eve, and her being a white person, yeah, and then she has this half-breed child that's probably darker skinned than her child. So I know they say sometimes you read in the Bible that God didn't accept Cain's offering. He would praise Abel's. And so that made a difference, between the two. And I heard something lately. They said that Cain was, he not only killed his brother, he ate him as well. I don't mess with cannibalism coming from, I don't know. Because I know some Africans did do some stuff like that. But I'm not going to add that in yet. But so he slayed his brother. So I'm like, okay, so the murder, the first, I have that in my thing when I be doing my readings, is the first person to commit murder, and that time was Cain, and he was from a black. You can't just say, and I noticed a lot of white people that I've seen, it's probably blacks too. I've only seen over here in the country, in this South, that a lot of white take Cain, as they say they're the descendants of Cain. I see that all written on their trucks and, different other things. They say they're descendant of Cain. And that's where because Cain was the one, I think, that hunted and would kill the animal. So they saying that the white person was the one that, Caucasian, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to say, not disrespecting anybody, that they are hunters, that they can't, what do they say? They can't, something they say they can't do. They only hunt. They can't create or something like that. I don't know. People got all kind of theories about whatever. But if he was Lilith's son and they say she was black, and I'm assuming Adam was white, so a half-breed. So when he murdered, that's both our sides. You know what I'm saying? Murder don't have no color, but they want to say that it's it's white folks was Cain and they the true murderers and all that kind of stuff. But if he was half-breed, that's all of us. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, just different things. I'll be just listening, and then I'll be like, well, wait a minute, if you saying this, So Lilith they say she went on and had kids with Lucifer. And if you looked at Sabrina and what else she played on? Sabrina and something else I was looking at the other night. What is that other movie? Sabrina, she only had one child for Lucifer, but she chopped that child up. I can't remember. But I found that on YouTube one day. And it's like they try to make it like a game or something like that. But she was fighting with the fallen angels against vampires and werewolves and stuff like that. She has special powers, and her children were helping fight, and she had more children, and she got a lot of children, stuff like that. So I'm not sure about Lilith, because I just found out about Lilith maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, so I'm, just be trying to put the pieces together and see what's real and what's not. Oh, and then they saying, you got Cain, you got leprosy, and then they said when Jacob and Esau, the twins that came out of their mom, that Esau was red, and they saying he was white. So they saying all people with red hair is he came out whiter skinned than Jacob did. So they say the whites, that's where the whites came at that moment. But to me, it's like different times that, so the different times that a being took over. And I think when they mess with DNA, you know what I'm saying? And that's where a lot of these, different things come from, how they saying this and that and then this. I don't know if we're gonna ever know the real truth, unless the real creator who made everything, what I'm saying, come and just set everybody down and tell them what really went on. But I was going to talk about That was something crazy. I was looking at reading about the heavens, and I wrote it down, and I was doing it on a plan. It's kind of complicated. Now I probably don't want to talk about that because it's real complicated. I got to get it right before I say anything. But it's like when I was doing my research, it was like we all in a belly. That's kind of crazy. It's like we all in the womb. In the planets are like eggs, and the galaxy. If you look at it, some parts of it look like sperm, and it look like little eggs around the planets. Look like little eggs. Yeah. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, and I was checking that out, and then I was looking at that they were saying that some planets that get destroyed, that they go through the black hole. And I was like, now this part gonna really trip you out. And I was, they be talking about the black hole sucks in, and I was thinking about that black hole was the rectum. I know that sounds crazy. And I was like, okay, so they keep saying that these planets, I don't know why these planets blew up, or maybe because of selfishness of this one right here, and they blew themselves up or disrespecting. But they say the planets, it's like they say in our body that we have these bacteria or whatever it is, that if something come in unwanted, yeah, right, unwanted, and it cleans out, or make it come out of waste, if it's something in your body, a foreigner in your body, if you clean yourself out or whatever, and make sure it goes out in the waste. And I was thinking, I said, well, what if the watchers was the same thing that's in our body? And if that planet, because they say they got some people, the watchers are watching each planet, and to certain things that we do wrong or blow up or whatever. That's why they said the man from Venus came here to make sure that we didn't use, came back in Eisenhower days, President Eisenhower, to make sure that they wouldn't use the atomic bomb. That he told him that if y'all use that, y'all not only going to destroy this planet, y'all would destroy some of the universe. So the council in the universe sent him down here, sent him to Earth to talk to the president and tell the president, not to do the atomic bomb. So I was thinking, I said, well, what if the watchers were the ones that, that planet destroyed itself, that they made, because they say them planets go through the black hole. And then I was like, okay, them waste. And then I don't know, I was really tripping up. I was just looking at some stuff. I was like, okay, so that sounds like waste going through the black hole. Where does it go after the black hole? Does it get refurbished? Does it get redone? Because when I give thanks, I think I don't worship anything. I give thanks to the universe. I call it Father Universe, and I call it Mother Galaxy, because Mother Galaxy is the one that birthed the babies to me, stuff like that. I don't know. I'm kind of weird. But yeah, that was something. I was like, okay, what is, I'm getting deep off into it. But yeah, it's because it's, it just kept on. I say, so if I would, because we don't know what created everything. And it was like, okay, so if it's dark space, it's like a womb. They say, when you're a baby in the womb and it's dark. So if we're inside of somebody's belly, because you'd be seeing them giant movies and stuff, and you be seeing, okay, so what if we walking around inside of a big giant person? I don't know. I be thinking all kind of crazy shit. I don't know. But yeah. So let me see. I'm gonna do one more. Yeah, my mind be going. It be going. Okay, let me see. I want to talk about another thing I found out. I was researching I say, so the storms that happen, because that's part of the apocalypse too, right? That's part of the apocalypse too. And I was like, okay, so all these storms and stuff happening. So all that's written in the Bible. I said, but why is all the storms are women? The hurricane, the tornado, the earthquake, the volcano, the tides are each one of them is, and they mostly name them after a woman. So I'm like, okay, so why is it feminine? You know? And then Dick Gregory. Okay, I'm finna get off here in a minute too. Okay, good night. Thanks, Carmen, for coming. I appreciate you. And Dick Gregory mentioned that from the European destroying some of Africa, certain part of Africa, and doing all that sodomizing, that those are the ancestors that's made the tornado, I mean a hurricane. And he said the hurricane make a path all the way from Africa through the Caribbean, like the same way when the ship took the slaves. He says that that hurricane followed that same path. When we see it on radar, they don't show us where it come from Africa. They say it come from the water. He said, but it comes from Africa, the same spot that they did all that stuff, and it follows and it comes through the Caribbean where they messed everybody up over there as well, and then it lands or whatever. So that's like he said, that's revenge of the mother, revenge of the women, the mother, because Africa is the mother, of everything. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this too, y'all. Hope y'all got some kind of enlightened. I'll find something else entertaining. All right. Good night, Carmen. I'm gonna go ahead and shut it down too. All right, y'all. I hope open y'all minds up to find some more stuff or something. Maybe y'all tell me some stuff later on, okay? All right, because I love to share. Let's listen and learn together. Maybe we can figure this out and find out what's really going on. Because another picture I seen that they keep purifying themselves and healing themselves and not dying. Not saying that, I'm scared of dying or whatever, but if it's a way that we all can be healed and not go through all of that stuff, then why not? All right. Love y'all. Thanks for coming. Like, subscribe, share, and comment. I really appreciate it. Talk to y'all later. Night, Carmen.